2018 has indeed been an incredible year for the Business Council of Westchester and for our members. And I can't think of a better way to cap it off than with tonight's guest of honor, Indra Newey. We are so pleased to honor you with this well-deserved award for your achievements as a true pioneer, corporate leader, and business role model for all the businessmen and certainly the business women in this room tonight. Okay, I'm going to go off my script for a minute. All you business women, stand up because we have such a great group of business women leaders. Very proud of that. Okay, back to my script. According to the New York Times, and I quote, Indra Newey's impact on PepsiCo cannot be overstated. Over the past decade, she has transformed the company dramatically, expanding its presence in international markets and also shifting its products increasingly into healthier beverage and snack choices. I know you broke the mold on many levels. Indra Newey was born in Chennai in southern India and joined PepsiCo in 1994, holding a series of strategic roles before becoming its chief financial officer in 2000 and 2006, its chief executive. She officially stepped down as CEO on October 3rd with a sterling reputation, and in a recent article in the Wall Street Journal titled, How Should Indra Newey Be Graded?, the journalist gave her high praise, writing, not only did she retire without incident, but she worked with her company to groom a successor, which is rare these days. She also proved during her years as CEO that to secure long-term health for the company, you needed not just to keep the shareholders happy, you also had to consider the needs of your customers, your workers, and the broader community. That same focus is not dissimilar to what we have followed here at the Business Council of Westchester by looking at the big picture and always staying true to our mission, which is to enhance profitability, wealth, and economic opportunity for all in Westchester, focusing on prosperity for the community and profitability for our members. Indra, your leadership is an example for us all to follow. You created a vision, had the courage of your convictions, and unleashed the power of your people. In preparing my introduction for you tonight, I found myself reflecting on the similarities between what you have achieved during your 12 years as CEO and evaluating what we have achieved this past year at the Business Council. You introduced the Performance with Purpose vision to drive long-term growth at PepsiCo while leaving a positive imprint on society and the environment. We here at the Business Council also have taken the lead in helping to build a better community through our Green Business Partnership that encourages our members to go green by providing them with guidance and incentives to foster sustainability in their workplace. And at the Business Council of Westchester, our foundation is dedicated to helping Westchester build healthy communities by providing programs in financial literacy, sustainable childcare, and a healthy workplace environment. Looking at the future, you had the vision to expand PepsiCo's portfolio to focus on healthier products with more non-carbonated drinks and sparkling water, launching brands such as Life Water and adding healthier options to the Gatorade line. By doing so, you are responding to the needs of your customers in the same way that we here at the Business Council keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in the Westchester business community. Frankly, that is what separates us from other business organizations. We are the go-to organization in the county because we continue to stay in touch with our members and evolve in order to reflect the trends and needs of the ever-changing Westchester business landscape. Several years ago, I was so pleased to be appointed by Governor Cuomo to the New York State Regional Economic Development Council, and I serve on its executive committee. As a member of this dynamic group, we have made significant contributions to our county and the Hudson Valley region. Indra, I know you're a numbers person, so I'm going to share this with you. In the past 7 years, we have brought into the Hudson Valley $560 million, supporting 693 projects. Yep. And just this past few weeks, we culminated our work here in Westchester with the announcement of a $10 million downtown revitalization grant to the Queen City of the Sound, New Rochelle. Where are you, Mayor? I'm going to toast you with a Pepsi for that. Yay. That's economic development in action. Congratulations to Mayor Noam Bramson, and I am pleased to share with you tonight that I have been asked to serve as the co-chair with the mayor of the local planning committee for the New Rochelle Downtown Revitalization Initiative, so watch for lots of exciting things to come. The historic opening of the Mario Cuomo Bridge was a major triumph for the Business Council of Westchester. After all, we led the charge to build that bridge. As you, Indra, have continued to respond and change to reflect the shifting needs of the market, we have done the same. Your track record as an amazing global leader is impressive. Indra knew when she moved from CFO to CEO, it would give her a whole different view of the company. And so with her new role as CEO in mind, she watched the economy, looked at the trends, saw a looming financial crisis, and also saw tremendous growth in emerging markets. In other words, she did her research, and it paid huge dividends. On a personal level, Indra, you've always been an inspiration to me. I read that you recently said, when I started in business 30 or 40 years ago, women had to produce a better product and do everything much better than the men in order to move ahead. I'm sure there are many women in this room tonight who can relate to this. I know I can. But I must say, I particularly enjoyed the story you shared about getting a call when you were at work late one night from the chairman and CEO of PepsiCo that you were going to be named president of the company and put on the board of directors. What an accomplishment. Of course, you left work early to tell your family, but when you arrived home, you were met by your mother, who told you to go back out and buy some milk for the morning. So that put it all in perspective. Creating a vision, finding the courage in your convictions, and unleashing the power of your people. These three qualities allowed our honoree, Indra to create a leadership legacy of success. Tonight, we will have the unique opportunity to find out her answers to how she accomplished all she did. But before we sit down to chat, I want to take this moment to personally congratulate you on all you have contributed and achieved. It is now my sincere honor, with our chairman, Tony Justick, to present the Business Council of Westchester 2018 Global Laureate Leadership Award to you, Indra Nooyi.
Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, George. It's good evening, everyone. It's really a privilege to be in the smartest county in the country. I'm not here to give a long speech. I'm looking forward to my conversation with Marsha shortly and sharing some of the lessons I've learned over the course of my own life and career. But before that, I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank the Business Council of Westchester. First, I want to thank you for the extraordinary honor of being selected to receive this year's Global Leadership Laureate Award. Marsha tells me that this award is for a lifetime of achievements in making New York, the nation, and the world a better, safer, and more economically sustainable place. And Secretary Clinton got it last year, very understandable. And Cardinal Dolan the year before that. To be honest, I'm deeply honored to have been considered for such an award, leave alone being selected for it. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you to all of you. But wholly apart from the honor of this award, I want to thank the Business Council of Westchester for all that you've done for this community. Your advocacy and investment in Westchester have helped make it a place where people want to come to work and raise a family, which has obviously meant a great deal for a company like PepsiCo. The impact you've had here reminds me of something Alexis de Tocqueville wrote when New York was still working to find its place in the world. In the early 19th century, he traveled to America to learn about the associations popping up around the country. When he got here, he marveled that when people come together around a common vision or a set of values, and I quote, "They are no longer isolated, but have become a power seen from afar, whose activities serve as an example and whose words are heeded." You don't have to look further than the Business Council of Westchester to see that this remains true today. You are an example for community action and community advocacy, not only in Westchester, but across the state. So on behalf of PepsiCo, thank you. And we want to make sure that our gratitude is translated into action, which is why I'm pleased to share that PepsiCo will be making a $100,000 grant to the Westchester Community College Foundation to fund a scholarship pool for disadvantaged students from this county who are interested in pursuing a career in STEM. Science and technology are at the heart of what we do at PepsiCo, and we understand how important STEM fields are to driving progress and solving many of the world's pressing challenges and problems. Our hope is that this gift will develop a whole new generation of leaders with a deep understanding of science, technology, engineering, and math. And if I can be a little self-interested, my hope is that one day they will come to work at PepsiCo, or at the very least, stay in Westchester and help this community grow and thrive. So thank you all once again for this award, and thank you for everything you're doing for this community. And now, Marsha, I look forward to a great conversation with you.
So this is fun. This is the first time we've done it like this, so I'm really enjoying this. I hope you'll all enjoy this conversation. When I was asked to conduct this evening in an interview format, Peter said to me, "Well, you'll be like Arianna Huffington." So I'm not like Arianna Huffington, but it's a tremendous honor. So let me begin, Indra. What prompted you to come up with the concept of performance with purpose?
Long story, but let me try to be as brief as I can. When I became CEO in 2006, I noticed something about the company, its position in society, and the kind of people we were attracting into the company or not attracting. PepsiCo is always a high-performance company. We always were focused on financial performance. But as we went to college campuses to hire the best and the brightest, we realized that we were not the most attractive company to come to work for, because young people wanted to come to work for a company which had a purpose, which could articulate why it existed. And at that point, just articulating the fact that we made a lot of money or we had many brands was not enough. So we quickly realized that we had to articulate a purpose that resonated with the young people if we wanted to get them into the company. We could have chosen to give millions of dollars to some charitable organization in faraway lands and feel pretty good about the fact that we'd given money away to charitable organizations. That might help one charity, but it's not going to create excitement with all employees or potential employees to come to PepsiCo to say, the reason I came to PepsiCo is because they gave to a charity in a country they've never heard of. So I sat back and I said, look, how are we going to not just talk about giving away money to various organizations, but fundamentally change the way we make money? What if we wove purpose into how we make money? Therein came performance with purpose. And performance was always going to be there, but the purpose part had 3 planks. What if one of our primary purpose in life was to provide a range of products? We always made fun-for-you products like the Pepsi and the Lay's and the Doritos. But what if we transformed the portfolio to offer better-for-you and good-for-you products? Lower sugar products, lower salt, fat products, but also the Quaker Oats and the Tropicana juice and the Naked juice. What if we dialed up that portfolio to offer positive nutrition? What if we did the food for good type of initiatives with the Westchester food bank that we do? What if we augmented our portfolio with those sorts of programs? What if we were more environmentally sustainable and more environmentally conscious? What if we reduced our water use? Because we have plants in many water-distressed areas. What if we increased our recycling rates of plastic? That's a positive impact on society. And what if we created an environment in PepsiCo that allowed people to bring their whole self to work? So therein was born performance, the product portfolio, the planet, and people. And the way we articulated this, you could not deliver performance without the 3 purpose planks. And you couldn't fund the purpose without delivering performance. So we changed the equation to spending the money we make to fundamentally changing the way we make money. And all of a sudden, when we articulated performance with purpose in campus recruiting, the halls, when PepsiCo showed up, was always full. And we've never had a problem recruiting people. And they're proud to say that they come to work for PepsiCo. So Performance with Purpose was born in 2007. It's now 2018, and it's still going strong.
I mean, I think there's a lesson to be learned for all of the business people in this room, that it's all about establishing that positive culture. And it sounds like what you really did here, Indra, was a culture change. It's pretty amazing, and it's
I think the
something
biggest
to
thing
follow.
we found was when people come to work at PepsiCo, they don't come just to make a living. They also want to have a life, which means that you've got to bring your whole self to work. You can't leave it at the door and then come in and do whatever you have to do in the company, and then pick yourself up and leave, because you're a member of the community, you're a mother, you're a father, you're an uncle, aunt, daughter, whatever. And so you have to weave all those strands into the company's equation. I mean, I'll give you a classic example. If you're not feeding your child the products we make, that's a problem. You can't come into the office and work in PepsiCo and make products that you don't feed your own family. So you're not bringing your whole self to work, you're just there to pick up a paycheck. On the other hand, if the products we make are those that you're proud to feed your kids, that's great. So I always tell my employees, I told them and told them till the last day, you ought to approach our product portfolio by saying, every child in the world is my child. So whatever I feed my child, PepsiCo ought to make in its portfolio.
It's amazing.
So that's the whole approach to purpose.
Well, thank you. Now, you've often spoken of the trade-offs that you've had to make as a female CEO. I follow you religiously on your YouTube presentations. Can you share some of that? Can you share some that we might not be aware of or that might not be obvious?
Masha, I'll tell you something. It becomes easier when you're a CEO because you got a lot of money. You can get all the daycare workers you can. So I tell you,
there's an honest woman.
It is true. The richer you are, you live in a cocoon because you can hire any daycare workers, you can vet them, you can get the best and the brightest, you can have them in shifts. You can do whatever you want, okay? You can even bring your kids to work because you're the big boss. Nobody can say anything, right? The problems come about when you move from the entry level, the next 2 levels in the pyramid. That's when the biological clock and the career clock are in conflict, and companies are not ready with the ecosystem, especially small and medium-sized companies cannot afford to put the ecosystem in. Large companies are only now waking up to the fact that they need to create an ecosystem. And so I think the problem is at that level. And I think the time has come for us to stop hand-wringing and actually come up with solutions on how we're going to address those 2 levels post the entry level to help women actually productively work in the economy, because we need their skills, but also have, a family, because we need the birth rate to go up to keep the country renewing. And so we have a challenge. And from my perspective, in my early days, it was very, very difficult. But this is where I think, and some of you may not agree with this, but I'll say it anyway, we imported the Asian model of family living here. Because when we grew up in India, we lived in a multi-generational household. Uncles, aunts, parents, everybody lived together. In fact, I think even in the US until about 40 years ago, there were big multi-generational families. So we prepared a whole schedule and said, until our kid is able to tell us what the nanny did to her or didn't do to her, we want somebody else supervising the daycare worker. So we lined up all our family members to come for 3 months at a time on vacation. And their only job was to supervise the daycare worker. In return, they got a vacation around the US. Just you had to do nothing.
That's priceless.
You have to do
Terrific.
nothing.
Yes.
And that's what we did. We imported the Asian model in. And we made them all, look, we couldn't have done it without that. Help, trade-offs doesn't fall from thin air. You've got to create the environment for that. And we decided that our kids are the priority. We have 2 daughters. And my husband and I had the honest conversations as to who was going to do what. And somehow we imported this model. We were very nice to all our relatives, very nice. We loved them, dearly loved them. Was it difficult at times? Yeah, because the typical thing with Asian families, they want to interfere in your life. But that's a small price to pay. Let me assure you, it's a small price to pay. And I've told my kids the same thing. The day you get married and have kids, just give them to me. I'll give them back to you when they're ready to go to college. Just give them to me. I'll take care of it.
Well, now we know the secret, Indra. Everyone's saying to you, what comes next? But not yet. Your daughters have a while to go. Yes. So if you had to do the past 12 years over again, in hindsight, would you do anything differently?
That's a tough one because, always in hindsight, there's 1 or 2 things you wish you'd done faster or slower or fired somebody earlier. I'm not going to share all that stuff with you, but this is too close to home. But no, but I think on balance, I did the best I could based on the knowledge and the information I had and the caliber of the team I had. And I think I had the best team in CPG, in the consumer products industry. And given the environment, the investor pressure for short-term profits, the caliber of our board, which said, focus on the future, don't worry about short-term pressures, balance it very judiciously, I think we did the best we could. All of us have regrets about the past, but I just decided to park my guilt at the door. Not going to worry about it.
Well, you're a healthy person. So besides performance with purpose, what do you want to be remembered for a decade from now?
I tell you, the PepsiCo job is fine. People will remember me because I was a CEO, and we're very few women CEOs. Hopefully, performance with purpose will sustain itself. But I think the true test is, what am I going to do after this privileged job as a CEO? So my challenge now is actually a little bit more daunting than being a CEO, because if I were to just ride off into the sunset, go to spas every other month and have a good time, which sometimes I want to do,
you could do it a little bit.
Remember me for being derelict in my responsibilities. So I'm thinking more about what can I do about all the issues that I was talking about when I was CEO? And where my hands were tied because I couldn't do too much or say too much because I was a public company CEO. So even things like, what do we do about this whole work-life balance issue? I mean, we're doing a lot of work in this area. We're going to write about it, propose solutions. Do me a favor when this article comes out, if I get a host of negative social media, all of you tweet out positive stuff, please. Okay, please.
Absolutely.
Because the
We're on
people
it.
who support are quieter than the people who criticize. So please, I'm going to look for each of you. Give me your membership list, okay? I'm going to look for
No
them.
problem. Everyone here has a Twitter handle right now.
I really think that my legacy is going to be told more about what I do post-PepsiCo, because I'm not doing it now for richness or running a company. I'm doing it out of a sense of duty and purpose, and I think that's what's going to define me. And so,
You've also mentioned publicly that you admire Tony Blair. After serving as CEO, are there other global leaders? I'm sure you've met most of them.
oh, look, I admire
Past or
most-
present, that are particularly
present.
notable. And
Well,
why?
I tell you, there isn't a global leader that I've met that I have not been, a leader that I've met I have not been impressed by. Look, it may not be the complete package. You admire different people for different things. I mean, I've probably met the presidents or prime ministers of maybe 50 or 60 countries. And I don't think there was anybody in that list that I said, God, how did he get this job? Not a soul. And I'm going to underline, not a soul. Some people have got the complete package. Some people have great substance, not style. Some people have great style, lack in substance, but that's okay, It happens. I've had the privilege of really meeting many leaders and taking away a nugget of learning from each one of them.
That's great. What a privilege. What a privilege. And
Has
what a
been-
privilege they've had to meet you, quite frankly.
That's an overstatement,
Yeah,
Marsha,
really.
please, come on.
So let's talk about, in a different way, the immigrant experience. You are an immigrant. And do you think that coming to America as an immigrant today is easy? What is it like compared to when you came as an immigrant?
I came to the U.S. 40 years ago, and the U.S. was the dream country in the world, to go to school, to make a living. I mean, this was the aspiration and the dream of every high-achieving Indian person in India those days. And so getting admitted to Yale for the business school that has just opened, even though I took on a loan level that I could not even imagine how I was going to pay it back, came to the country, and I have to tell you, it has been one of the most amazing experiences. For one, I have since traveled around the world, and I'm yet to see a country that is so supportive and welcoming of people who are different than what I experienced in the United States. And I remember about 6 or 7 years ago, I was in a particular country having lunch with the prime minister of that country with a bunch of people. And he looked at me and said, don't take the 6 to 7 years because I don't want you to pin this prime minister down, okay? He looked at me and he said, Indra, why didn't you come to the United Kingdom instead of going to the United States when you left India? I looked at him and said, because, Mr. Prime Minister, had I come to the United Kingdom, I wouldn't be having lunch with you. Okay? It's true.
That says it all.
So, my immigrant experience has been very positive. I've had lots of mentors who told it to me like it was. I've had my share of issues too. I mean, I've had share of issues where, many men, even when I was in senior positions, would call me sweetie or honey. It's okay, But I've had I would say all of those negative incidents, probably 20% of my experiences. 80% was all support, mentorship. How do we push her forward? And in my early days, and I've said this many times in public interviews, first I didn't have much money to buy good clothes. But then once I had the money to buy good clothes, I didn't know what to buy. Okay, and so you see, you all take it for granted when you grow up here because you see all the role models of good dressing, not me. So I made a decision that I was going to win on brains, not on looks. So I said, forget it, I'm just going to, I'd buy 10 white shirts and 10 bows and wear the same damn thing for 10 days. Because, I decided to be one of the guys. So, that's what I did. Because
it worked for you.
It worked. Because I said, don't worry about how I'm dressed. Let's just worry about my output. So I made sure that my product was 50% better than anybody else. That took time away from the family, I'll be honest with you. But, as an immigrant, we have more support systems today than we did then. And over time, I'd say we're getting better and better at assimilating people. But I think a couple of years after I came to the country, I was totally assimilated. I mean, year one, I fell in love with the New York Yankees in 1978. And George, I have to tell you, through good times and bad times, I've been a New York Yankees fan. And this year, I was the honoree at the homecoming dinner for the Yankees.
Oh, how great.
And I have to tell you, I wanted to cry through the entire event because I came to the country in '78. I watched that 14-game, behind first place, the one-game playoff, and I was seated next to Bucky Dent. And I'm like, this can't be true. Right? I don't think Bucky did realize what I was going through, And this side of me was Aaron Boone, and we were at that game, that home run, which caused us to beat the Red Sox. Here's Aaron Boone. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening to me? So I've had these unreal experiences. So I sort of became totally in love with everything about the US. Football, baseball, hockey is the only one I haven't yet. I don't like the ice. But my kids play ice hockey, but I don't. Basketball, everything I've fallen in love with. Music. I mean, there isn't a thing that I don't like.
And living in New York. Well, you live
I
somewhere
live in
else.
Connecticut,
But okay,
but I work
but
in
it's
New
the
York.
same thing.
I work in New York.
It's the same thing, yes.
I live in Connecticut, and I'm now going to rent a wonderful building from John Ferry. Where's John? Hello, John. He gave me his telephone number and said, call me. That's the biggest mistake because, hurry up, John, I need it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, okay, so besides the Yankees, do you have personal, I'm sure you have other personal interests. What do you think you might want to think about or pursue? Hobbies, interests, passions, now that you're no longer CEO?
Oh, wow. Don't write about this, please, guys. This is off the record.
Okay, this is off the record, yes.
So your News 12 is not going to write about all this.
This is off the record if any reporters are still here.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, what do I have? Hobbies? I love music. I love to go to concerts.
What kind of music do you like?
I'm stuck in the 70s.
Okay,
So to me,
that's a good place.
Any 70s artist
Yeah.
just comes back.
Okay.
Even with half the group, I'll go hear it. And then wonder why I went because they spoiled it for me. But that doesn't matter. And then I do something which I love. I go for ballroom dancing.
Ballroom dancing.
My husband wouldn't be caught there doing it, but
How wonderful.
I have a teacher, and I've said to him, look, I don't want to be on YouTube. Therefore, the lesson has to be like at some ungodly hour, like 7 a.m. The studio has to be locked because I won't let anybody come in. And this poor kid shows up at 7 a.m. diligently 3 times a week, 1.5 hours. I forget the world, and I learn ballroom dancing.
It's a wonderful thing.
It's fabulous.
Thank you for sharing that.
Fabulous.
I could kind of picture you ballroom dancing.
Hey, there's no other Indian that
Do you
ballroom
wear the
dances.
ballroom dancing outfits and
No.
everything?
I'm
Well,
in the
maybe
studio
that. Okay, well,
in
that's
my jeans and a shirt, please. No.
that's great. That's great.
I think I'm wearing a ballroom gown, but I'm not.
No. You need one of those virtual reality headsets, to do the ballroom dancing
true,
now.
very
So
true.
picture it.
Yeah.
This has been one of the most incredible experiences of my professional career to have this
Marcia, thank you.
opportunity to
Thank you.
interview you.
Thank you. Thank you.
in front of all these people. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights. You're such an inspiration. So it's such a privilege to have you here with us today. Thank you, Indra Nui.
Thank you.